Hi guys, Ali Taylor down here at Heron's Reach, and today we're going to talk about how these irons have really opened my eyes and really made me make a decision about a new set of irons that I never ever thought that I'd be putting in the bag. So during lockdown in the UK, like a lot of golfers, I was bored and decided to rebuild my bag from 1990. So I went on eBay and I bought myself my driver that I was using at the time, the set of irons, the putter that I was using, and I actually had a couple of the old golf balls already in my bag that I used to play. But the really interesting thing for me was I bought a set of the Mizuno TP11s, and I've kind of joked in the last few years about going back to blades in my bag, but I always worry. I don't practice a lot. I don't play really much at all anymore. So I've always kind of gone down the route of have something as easy as possible to use so that if my ball striking is not great, I still get away with it. And the thought of putting something in the bag with almost no forgiveness has really been a negative for me. But getting hold of these and hitting these has absolutely made me consider putting blades in the bag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just run through hitting some shots with these, give you guys some feedback on, how they look and feel, but importantly why I'm really so close to putting blades back in my bag, and the decision making involved in why I am considering it. But I can't stick with something from 1990. It needs to be a newer model. And what I'd like from you guys is, if I am going blades back in the bag, I want you guys to comment below and let me know which manufacturer's blades you think I should play and why you think I should play those. But for now, let's talk about why these have blown my mind. So when you look at a blade from behind, I think they're a beautiful looking golf club, and I love how clean blades look. Like I said, these are from 1990, but I loved having these as a kid. Probably didn't hit them as well as I remember, but I always loved the look and feel. And certainly when you put them down behind the golf ball, it's very small, the club head. But I don't dislike that, and it's kind of a funny thing for me that I almost feel the smaller the head with the irons, it's almost like I have to make sure I focus properly and make a good swing to make sure that I get that strike. So I'm just going to zip a couple of 7-irons away. And I do love the feel. I mean, like I said, I don't think there's anything better than a blade when you hit it out of the middle of the club head. And I don't have an issue with the size of the club head. I mean, particularly in kind of 7-iron down, I probably, to be fair, even though I say I don't think my ball striking is good enough, I'm not a long way off the middle of the club face with an iron. And I love, like I said, the feel, certainly because the lofts are a lot, we'll say weaker, but more traditional. I mean, certainly the 7-iron in this set, I think is only a degree less lofted than the 9-iron in my i500s. So what I have seen is I've obviously had to hit maybe a couple of extra irons into the green. And I know there's always that discussion that would you not rather hit a 9-iron than a 7-iron? Yes, but if they're the same loft, does it really make a difference? Not for me personally. I don't care if it says 7 on the bottom or 5. If they're the same loft, and I know this gets into an new argument about should manufacturers start putting lofts on the bottom of irons rather than numbers, but I don't necessarily have an issue with the amount of loft on this 7-iron. I mean, certainly when I hit a good solid one with this 7, I'm looking, TrackMan will tell me there, at a carry distance of 154 yards. So I'm allowing around 155, which is a good, at least 15 yards, maybe 18 yards behind where I'm currently hitting 7-iron in my pings. But like I said, I don't really have an issue with that. one thing I would say is the more modern blades are just slightly stronger loft. So I actually quite like that idea of maybe just picking up that extra 4 or 5 yards. But what I've really, really enjoyed with this is definitely, and again, it's all down to loft rather than kind of the number on the bottom. Definitely feel I've got more control on where the golf ball goes because of that extra spin. Now, the argument is if I hit a 5-iron and a 7-iron with the same loft, they're both spinning around 5,000. But I think maybe it just mentally makes me feel that I've got more control hitting the ball into the green. But the one thing it definitely does give me is that ability to play around with my trajectory of my shots a little bit easier. So if I do want to hit one in a little bit lower, I find it much, much easier with the blade. Because the club is not designed to pop the ball in the air, I find it a lot easier controlling the flight. So that's the 7-iron. Now, the one little issue I do have with some of the modern stuff is just gapping. So my 52-degree wedge, I do like 52, 56 and 60 as my 3 lofts. So when I hit my 52 at the moment, I like the way it looks, I like the way it feels, and the distance it gives me is around that kind of 110, 112 degree carry. Now the little challenge I have with the modern stuff is my pitching wedge in my pings is around 133. So there's an obvious gap there between the pitching wedge and the 52. Now, yes, I know the argument is then put a club in there, but then that's where the numbers are a little bit out because of the lofts. Whereas the pitching wedge in this set, again, love the look and feel, but straight away the gapping's good. And I've hit that 122 yards. So we can see then there's a perfect gap from 52 to pitching wedge. Now, so like I said, I don't really have an issue bottom end of the bag. Certainly when I get into these longer ones though, this is where I might kind of just mix the set up a little bit. So I'll be honest, the 3-iron behind the golf ball is not my favourite looking golf club. It does scream that that's got to be absolutely perfectly struck for me to hit the kind of shot that I want. And when I get there, so that's a good example. I've just got that a little bit out the toe, and I'd be looking for around about 200 yards carry. So that's carried 190, but it's not just about the carry with the blade. I think it's definitely that I start losing a little bit of peak height. Not a problem for me hitting shots from the tee. I quite like the fact that I can stand there and hit that kind of bit more of a stinger one that runs out. I think my challenge with a blade 3-iron is I don't think I get that kind of 100-foot peak height, so that ability to hit it into a green and stop it would be diminished. So this is where, from a decision-making standpoint for me, I've got to decide if I go blades in the bag, where do I go up to? Now currently, I'm kind of leaning towards the idea of 4-iron down in blades, and then maybe whatever the 3-iron replacement will be, maybe being a little bit of a cavity that perhaps still looks very bladed, maybe a little bit bigger, but just maybe inspires that little bit more confidence behind the ball. I mean, again there, felt a good swing, maybe a little bit off the bottom of the club. And my carry's only 182. So I think definitely in that longest iron, that's where I might not put a blade in the bag. So that's really full shots of kind of my thinking. Where I do really, really enjoy going back to the blades is certainly once you get into shorter shots. So I think straight away, you know, if I put the wedge behind the ball, it's a bit more compact, you know, it's forged. Theory is there's going to be that softness to the feel, but I like the fact the head's a bit smaller. Straight away for me, it kind of screams out that there's a bit more chance to play finesse with these. Whereas I do find some of the modern sets, even that I put in the bag, just feels like the ball comes a little bit quick off the club face, and I maybe don't have that feel that I should have when playing some of these little shots around the green. And certainly when I've been out on the golf course, played a couple of games out of lockdown with friends, and their initial comment was, ooh, you know, what are you doing putting blades back in the bag? But they really noticed a big difference in my shots around the green, and that's definitely for me probably the weakest part of my game, is kind of very short pitches and chipping. So I think if there's clubs in there that I find easier to kind of get the club on the ball consistently, and I know how the ball comes off the club face, I just can't really see a negative to putting these in the bag. Now, like I said at the start of the video though, the big challenge is so many of the manufacturers nowadays make really, really good blades. So what in my head I'm thinking is, am I looking at the blueprints from Ping? Am I looking at TaylorMade's potential new offering? Am I looking at the Callaway blade? Am I looking at the Titleist blades? Do I potentially look at PXG? Comment below, let me know which blades you think I should put in the bag. I mean, maybe comment below and say, I think you're insane. Why would you be looking to put blades back in the bag? Obviously, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. If I do put them in the bag and it's wrong, they'll be changing over very, very quickly. But like I said, at the moment, I just can't really see many negatives to be putting blades back in the bag. And for me, that process of choosing irons, yes, there's that science-based thing from launch monitors, and I take that into account. You know, I've hit enough shots already with these to know that the misstrike does drop off a little bit. I think the modern blades are a little bit more forgiving as well, but I'm happy to sacrifice distance based on the fact that the lofts are different. So just the numbers on the bottom of the clubs kind of are irrelevant. I will just know that I hit 7-iron 160 through the air instead of 172. But I just think the emotional bit of the what do they look like and what do they feel like, I think I'm willing to go a bit more down that route now rather than just going solely on performance. Right then guys, so like I said right at the start, these irons have really kind of opened my eyes and really changed my opinion on what irons should be in my bag. Like I said towards the end there, I really want to hear from your comments. I want you to let me know, first of all, should I be putting blades back in the bag? And if I should, you know, whose blades should I be putting in there? But if you think I'm being stupid and insane by putting the blades in, tell me. Tell me why you don't think I should put blades in there. But I just kind of, you know, maybe letting the heart overrule the head on these ones. But over the next few weeks, I'm definitely going to make a decision. I'm going to put something in the bag, and then I'm going to let you guys know what I've gone for. I'm going to show you how they perform, and I'm going to take them out on the golf course and see, have I then made a mistake letting the heart overrule the head, or does the heart come out as the winner on that one? So guys, hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, like it and share it. Comment below and I'll get back to as many people as I can. If you've enjoyed today's content and you don't currently subscribe, please consider clicking the subscribe button below. But remember to hit that notification bell and then you'll find out whenever I drop a new video. Follow me on all my social media networks, all under Ali Taylor Golf. Hopefully catch up with some of you guys down here soon. Stay in contact.